Hello everyone, and welcome to another stream. Justin says, oh shit, did I just surprise you? Did you just see this or something? If so, nice.
Yeah, I saw it just in time too, apparently.
Yeah. I'm at an actual desk now. Also, I don't believe I ate anything today that's going to fucking destroy my bowels, so we should probably be interruption free outside of normal bathroom breaks.
Right.
So how are all of you doing? Guess who was watching videos about Warhammer this day? What? Did I get you back into watching Warhammer stuff because of last week's stream? It's funny how that happens, because I just, like, randomly got reminded that 40k was a thing, like, 2 weeks ago. And then have started, hyperfixating on it again, as I do with any fictional franchise that I become interested in.
So what did remind you of it?
I don't remember. I don't remember what specifically. I remembered that fucking fantastic fanfiction that Lord Lucan wrote that I'm still reading. That's fucking delightful. And then I'm like,
I
right,
think
there is the rest of like actual 40k.
I think the first thing I saw recently from you about 40K was like the rat guys.
Oh, that's just fantasy. That's Warhammer Fantasy.
Ah,
I was just
yeah.
reminded. Actually, I don't remember under what context I remembered that Skaven were a thing, but I was just like, alright, Skaven. Those funny guys. I love them, even though I don't know too much about them. Because I'm not that knowledgeable on Warhammer Fantasy. I'm a 40k guy.
Well, look, they're funny. They're funny.
They are
Keep 'em
funny.
around.
They're delightful. Cash Sanders is also in here. Let's get ready to rumble. How's everyone's day going? My day's been going pretty well.
Same here.
Did some schoolwork earlier in the day because I need to do that. Then had D&D during the afternoon, and now we're here.
Yeah, that was fun. Didn't your character get down like
Twice,
twice?
yeah. Because those good berries only give you 1 point of HP, so...
Gotta
This is
love hard
why
difficulty.
we make it a thing, unofficially, where characters are just like, oh yeah, I'll shove half a dozen good berries in your mouth, or I'll shove 37 good berries in your mouth. Realist Mandel says Warhammer Fantasy, man, Games Workshop screwed that series up.
Oh, how so?
Apparently, well, because Warhammer Fantasy had its end times already, back in like,
Right.
fucking, I don't know, the early 2000s or something. I actually don't know when the end times happened. It was effectively their excuse to do a reboot, which is now Age of Sigmar, which is apparently not that good, at least in terms of like a lore perspective. I think, as far as I understood, it was kind of like a D&D 5e thing where they've made the game much more accessible, which naturally makes a lot of the old timers very mad.
Uh, yeah, sounds alright.
I wonder if Playfree will join later, depending on whether or not he's doing the
Yeah, he's running something
well,
on
yeah, I know, but I'm
AT.
wondering when he'll be done with that. We need a D&D stream one day. Oh, right. I've been wondering when I would announce this. Depending on when people are busy, and depending on if I'm free or not, I plan on streaming Call of Cthulhu on Halloween. So that should be fun. And even if I can't do it on Halloween, I would probably do it like a couple days before Halloween or something.
Yeah.
That'll be...
The viral module, right?
yeah. Should be
God,
fun.
that'll be fucking deranged.
Oh, yeah, totally. It's funny, you're also used to like noir 20s shit, then you get thrown into modern day. Dylan says Skaven are the types of beings to backstab the word backstab. That seems to be the defining trait of their entire race, is that they are selfish backstabbers. Everything they do is in their own self-interest. They will literally fuck over anyone and everyone. Oh, and they like warpstone, I guess. They're big on warpstone. They use it to do everything. We got 11 people in here, only 7 likes. Damn. I'm shocked by how popular these Warhammer streams are. Like, relatively speaking, for something that's not a channel-focused thing, where we get, like, around 10 viewers consistently throughout the entire stream. Except for when I'm gone for 50 minutes because I feel like I'm dying.
You passed that curse on to me.
Yeah. Warhammer Fantasy was known for one really fun mechanic, and then they ripped it away with the Age of Sigma and gave us a bunch of meth mechanics. What was the one really fun mechanic? I'm curious. By the way, we got
It is another one.
9 people in here, 7 likes. So let's see if we can get those numbers to be symmetrical.
Yeah, so have you finished painting all the figures you bought?
Oh yeah, I did. I posted pictures of them yesterday, I think.
Let's go back up in game.
Yeah, hold on. I'll actually show them on stream. I believe I've mentioned before at some point. I think I.
Yep.
Okay,
All
no, I did
buried
not
by
want to
the
save
Gacha
that. I wanted to
Gamers.
copy it. I mentioned last stream, I do believe, that I have a Death Guard army, and due in large part to last week's stream, I was like, damn, I have my own money now, I'm able to drive myself places, I'm gonna go buy some fucking Warhammer miniatures, and a bunch of paint and stuff, and brushes, and, well, most of the things required to produce, or, you know, build Warhammer miniatures, because I hadn't done anything with them in like a year and a half. So I needed to get a lot of new shit, and I ended up spending like $250 in one place, which was just below around what we expected me to spend.
Yeah.
Convenient how that works out, huh?
Local Florida man finds inner peace painting violent men.
Very violent men. Violent, evil men. Hold on, let me open up a window capture. No, that's not the one.
You know, just drag images onto
Hold
the
on.
thing.
I can?
Yeah, like you can drag images into OBS, you know, just have it display them. Oops, close YouTube.
I can also just do window capture since I opened it up in my browser. Let's see here. Woo, ha ha ha, wow, look at that. Those are mine.
Yours?
I've been meaning to get those models for like 3 fucking years now. Maybe, probably more actually. The guy with all of the spikes coming out of his back that has the scythe, his helmet is from a different kit that I had saved that helmet from in like a plastic bag and then just in a drawer since I bought the kit like almost 4 years ago, because I was like, the fucking head on this thing looks terrible. I hate it. I want to get rid of it. I want to replace it with something else. And then I just saw someone fucking kit bashed it with that one. So I was like, shit, I can do that. So finally, after 4 years, I did.
Oh, this fucking message Dylan sent in chat. A spell with unlimited range. So like apparently, people would call in to tournaments and say, "Oh yeah, I'm casting this spell on that guy," and they'd accept that.
Are you fucking serious? That is so fucking stupid. I absolutely love that.
You're gonna start doing that with Eileen with D&D session from now on?
Just suddenly, they get a phone call. Hello? Alright. Yeah, you're basically calling in like a fucking orbital strike.
Yeah, it's an assist.
Yeah. So now I've got 8 Blight Lord Terminators, and I finally got a Hellbrute after wanting to get one for a really long time. I don't know why I expected them to be bigger. To be fair, Warhammer models always look bigger in pictures. Well, the promotional pictures anyway, when you don't have something next to them for scale. But he's a fine little specimen. And then I'll show the other model I got later.
Oh, why later? You gotta save you gotta save it as a
Well,
surprise.
because we're gonna talk about them later, and how hilarious they are.
Oh yeah, that list of titles.
That that beautiful list. So anyway, I believe you said you quite enjoyed the last stream. You found 40K to be more interesting than you expected.
Yeah. Like, I wouldn't say it's entirely my thing, but
Mhm.
it's not something I'd be opposed to learning more about.
Well,
So.
boy, am I glad to hear that. So, in today's stream, we're going to be talking about the guys that are basically the main characters of 40K. And also the main
Space
villains.
Marine.
The Space Marines. Space Marines. I may make various occasional references to Dawn of War Soulstorm and its fucking hilariously terrible voice acting.
These guys definitely take up a lot of space looking at them.
Which guys?
You know, those 5 guys, you know, they had it on the stream earlier.
Oh, yeah.
Are those not the Marines?
No, those are some Marines. Those are... Oh, well, we'll get into it a little bit.
Right.
Because there are different types of Marine units. These guys are the big boys. These are the elite units.
The largest lads.
The biggest. The hugest. So... The Horus Heresy was a thing that happened. And, naturally, after the fact, various reformations had to be made to ensure that such a thing wouldn't happen again. So, Space Caesar Gilliman decided to write a big book called the Codex Astartes, which was basically going to be the new big rule book for how the Space Marines were going to function as an organization.
Right?
So instead of having the big legions that have like potentially upwards of 100,000 Marines in them, they would be split into chapters of 1,000, which would then be subdivided into 10 companies of 100. So there would no longer be a single force of Marines that was absolutely fucking gigantic and could be used to do like a giant galaxy-wide coup. Hey Wave, how you doing?
Oh, yeah.
Let's see if his mic is any better from last week. Oh, we're maybe getting Soulsborne news tonight. That is very interesting. This may turn into a multi-topic stream. Who knows?
And when's the state of play happening? September 13th. That's me today. At 3 p.m. Pacific time, 6 p.m. Eastern Standard, or midnight, basically, for me tomorrow.
Fantastic. Better get that fucking Elden Ring DLC. Though that's probably somewhat unlikely.
Yeah, so keep an eye on that tomorrow.
Yeah, I shall. Alright, the new Chainsaw Man chapter comes out tomorrow. These break weeks are fucking me up. Assuming they're break weeks and Fujimoto isn't just going full bi-weekly, which he might be.
I found that if it means higher quality overall.
Yeah, I mean, shit.
And also less carpal tunnel.
Right, of course. I didn't realize it until some people had pointed out, but something about Denji did seem very off last chapter. Like, initially it's just like, oh, Denji's still Denji. But then it's like, something about his behavior seems mildly, surreal.
Yeah.
This is a little sussy. So anyway,
Ward Hammers.
Denji was replaced by I don't know, a demon.
Your mother? Oh, Skinwalker.
The Space Marine chapters have various different types of units. The basic ones just being, you know, the bog standard Space Marine, who, well, we've already shown you pictures of before. I'll send pictures again.
Which are mostly Ultramarine successors.
Do the Ultramarines really have the most successor chapters?
I think so. It's like they had the most amount of guys, and when they were divided up, they had the most amount of successor chapters.
Hmm. Fascinating. That is very interesting. I did not know that. Well, we're going to talk about the Ultramarines shortly, so... yeah. So, that's just your standard Space Marine. They do have some reconnaissance units. They have scouts who are usually, as far as I'm aware, Space Marines in training. So they've, like, started the process to become Space Marines, but they haven't completed it yet. So they use these weaker, shittier Space Marines to do reconnaissance and stuff, because if they die, it's really not that important. Then we have the more elite Space Marine units, the Terminators, who are effectively heavy shock troopers. The guys that I sent pictures of. Right, they can't sprint. That's the notable thing. They're bigger, they're heavier, they have more firepower, but they are slower. They can't sprint. This is what they look like generally. That's the standard modern Space Marine Terminator armor. My Plague Marines that I sent the pictures of, those are Death Guard Terminators. Specifically, they're called Blight Lords. Because, you know, every fucking Chaos faction has their own variety of Terminators.
Fun fact, Terminators are actually weak against normal Space Marines, but nobody figured that out until the Horus Heresy happened.
How so? Is it just because they're slower?
Yeah, they're slower, and it's just they have some disadvantages against regular Space Marines, but they're better against everybody else.
I mean, that does make sense. Well, we do know from various things like Space Hulk that, like, they're really fucking good at just massacring weak horde enemies. Also, how interesting then that, like, a lot of the really big badasses just walk around in Terminator armor. Theoretically, that puts them at a disadvantage to everyone else.
Yeah. But it's still Terminator armor.
Right, which basically means you turn into even more of a walking tank than you already are as a Space Marine.
Yeah.
And then the last really notable special Space Marine unit would be the Dreadnoughts. When a Space Marine gets really badly injured in battle, but they don't die, because, you know, for some reason they didn't think they were not useful enough to just kill and use the gene seed to make a new Space Marine, what they do is they take their ruined body and they throw it in a walking coffin with weapons called a dreadnought, and they just kind of hang out in, like, hibernation for extended periods of time, and then when shit gets really fucking bad, the chapter will wake them up and go, hey, go kill that thing, and they're like, okay, and then they go do it.
Yeah, one of the best characters in the series was a Dreadnought.
Oh, we'll be talking about the... It could be. I think I know who you're talking about. But we'll talk about them later. What were you saying, Neve?
I can't hear the term dreadnought anymore after seeing astral dreadnoughts. Scary things.
Ah, yes, of course. Well, they do have dread in the name, so. Oh, and there are various different models of dreadnought. Dreadnoughts are all, I'm pretty sure, like relatively ancient technology, so you can't really build new ones.
Well, there are two types of dreadnoughts. There's the
Well, there's a few
generic
variants.
one that just looks like a coffin,
And
and
then
then there's
there's...
the old one that looks like a big guy wearing armor.
Right, the Contemptors,
That one's
which
the rare
I
one.
love Contemptor Dreadnoughts. I think they're shit. They're the shit. They're cool as fuck. And Chaos has their own variants of it called Hellbrutes. That thing, I posted that picture of earlier, where because Chaos, when a Chaos guy gets slapped in a Dreadnought, they basically just get fused with the fucking thing and it turns into a biomechanical nightmare. It's a giant flesh cyborg thing, and the Marine inside of it goes fucking insane from the absolute agony of persisting in such a state. So they're used in the much more literal sense I just described when they're like, oh, things are really bad. Let's just throw him at the enemy line because it's a fucking maniac stuck inside of a giant death machine. And that'll cause some problems for whoever they're being deployed against. And then, of course, we have the new Primaris Marines, which are the things that happened when Gilliman came back, which was basically Games Workshop saying, hey, Space Marines are our most popular model line. What if we basically
Like
just
Space
released...
Marines of Space Marines?
No, not Space Marines inside of Space Marines. Not quite. That's just the Centurions. What if we basically remade every single Space Marine unit, but under the pretense of, oh, look, they're bigger and they have more normal proportions, so they're better.
Yeah.
And then we can get people to
I prefer
buy
the
entire
Primaris
fucking
design.
Space Marine armies again. And then it worked, pretty much. So these are, I don't think they make any new Space Marine models that have like the old designs or anything. You know, theoretically they could have just, I don't know, made new Space Marine models with
I mean,
better proportions, but...
you gotta wait a while before, remaking the old models, right? Because then, people will buy them again.
Right, of course. I bet you in 15 years or something, it'll be like, oh, the return of the old Space Marines, the good old boys.
Yeah, you can buy a single one of them. No, you can buy half of one for like $50.
To be fair, a box of, like, Primaris Intercessors is, like, $50, so... Yeah. Games Workshop pricing, am I right, fellas? So... Now let's start talking about some specific Space Marine chapters, or groups. And we'll see which ones you really like. I already have my bets placed on at least one of them. We'll see what you think of them in general. So we're going to start off with the Ultramarines, who are these blue fuckers that I've posted pictures of at least once, including this new guy here. They are the poster boys of the Space Marines. If you go on the Games Workshop website right now, and you go to the Warhammer 40k section, and you look at things tagged Space Marines that aren't other chapter-specific things, like fucking Space Wolves or anything, they are all default promoted as Ultramarines, because they are the poster boys of the Space Marines. The reason for this being is that they don't really have a gimmick. They're generic.
But adaptable, because of that.
Adaptable, true. They have a much more versatility. They can do a whole lot of different shit. These are, of course, the Sons of Gilliman. They're Gilliman's Space Marines.
Sons.
They are, they are obviously descended from the Ultramarines Legion. They carry the name. I forget what the exact name for, like, a direct descendant chapter is, where it's just like, yeah, they get to keep the heraldry and the name of the Legion. But yeah, that's what the Ultramarines are. Most of the Space Marine chapters have sort of an elite unit that's somewhat unique to them. In the Ultramarines case, they have these really fucking cool honor guards. Let me get a picture of them. Their designs absolutely fucking slap, because you take the normal classic Space Marine design and then you slap a little bit more iconography and shit on it, and you make it look even cooler.
That's killer.
Yeah. Now the thing is, there are a lot of people that either roll their eyes at or really hate the Ultramarines.
Why is that?
Well, as mentioned, they are the poster boys of the series, which means a lot of the, or some of the media relates to the Ultramarines. There was a guy
Hey, guy.
called Matt Ward, and
Wonder what
Games
makes that
Workshop hired Matt Ward, who was a really big fan of the Ultramarines, to write some books and shit about the Ultramarines.
I think I remember Matt Ward's name for not good reasons. Not
Oh,
entirely sure what they were.
I think some
Yeah.
people mentioned him being the one that fucked up the Warhammer End Times. I don't know what his exact contributions to that are. Why, let's see. Now, I could use the normal Warhammer wiki for information, but the 1D4chan wiki is fucking hilarious. It's not as accurate, but infinitely more entertaining. And I'm here to do entertainment, so... First off, let's talk about what are the various names that they have for him. Ultramarine Fanboy #1, that stupid fucking moron, or our spiritual liege, was one of the game designers at Games Workshop and Lord of Changing Fluff. He's an extremely controversial figure amongst neckbeards for a variety of reasons, enumerated ad nauseum below. It's probably telling that this page was one of the most fought over pages in the site's history.
Wow.
In 2014, Ward announced he was on sabbatical from Games Workshop. This was due to online death threats from morons, which prompted a big change in GW policy, and also spontaneous street parties. Ward later emerged with a 3-book deal with a major publisher, so not Black Library then. Who is this guy? Matt Ward was a games designer for Games Workshop. This means he wrote codices and army books. He was responsible for both the rules themselves and the background behind the army. Once, GW had a policy of putting the lead writer's name on the front of a codex, despite all of them being collaborations. /TG's seething response to anything with Ward's name on it changed that, and now no single author is ever credited. Our mothers are extremely proud of this achievement. The reason why does TG hate this guy so much? The reason why TG hates this guy so much can be summarized into two different answers. The first and most painfully honest answer is because we need to blame someone for our woes, and he was the easiest target. The second answer is because he messed up a lot. A lot.
How much is a lot?
Let's see here. Can we get any examples here? He systematically destroyed the fluff to fit his own childish and incoherent vision of the 40k and fantasy universes. Chief among his flaws is that his stories and rules utterly lack restraint. Yes, even by the over-the-top standards of Warhammer. For instance, in his Necrons book, he casually introduced a small faction that has the power to detonate any star in the galaxy with the click of its fingers. But the most rage-inducing codex he made thus far is the Space Marines Codex, which explicitly states that all chapters, excluding a few aberrants, behave and think in exactly the same manner as his army, the Ultramarines. He spells out the organization patterns, the ideologies, who they revere and why, and just assumes that everyone else automatically accepts this radical shift in logic from thinking of the Blue Boys as all-rounder guys with the Roman motif to the best chapter ever. Just ignore Ward's fluff, you say? I like your moxie, but the reality is this. Players play fluffy armies. The canon lore does matter to them, and though try as they might to ignore the glaring fact that the canon fluff is forever altered by creating little pockets of what they believe should be the fluff, it all feels exactly as it sounds, like a personal delusion that ignores the facts. If you found out one day that your family actually doesn't exist, you can still maintain the belief that they do, but it'll never be true. That's how it feels. And it's painful to play as these armies to see their fluff change so much, or to be reminded constantly when you play against them. And Ward's codices have been very successful. Look at the number of people playing Grey Knights, Blood Angels, and Necrons these days, ruthlessly exploiting every bit of cheese they can find and purchasing all the new, shiny, overpriced models for them. So he wrote a bunch of shitty rules, and he wrote a bunch of shitty fluff. Oh god, the biggest offender by far of Ward's tell, don't show policy is Kaldor Drago, the Grey Knight's Supreme Grand Master, whose main personality trait is supposed to be badass. Oh, I was gonna decide when to talk about the Grey Knights and the Death Watch, because they're unique chapters.
Well,
We'll talk about the Grey
I'm
Knights right
recommending
now.
it now.
Okay. So the Grey Knights are a special chapter of Space Marines that are all psychers.
Right.
They are secret. Nobody outside of, like, the Inquisition are supposed to know about them. So, if you're a Space Marine and you encounter the Grey Knights, the Inquisition's gonna, like, wipe your memory of them or something. If you're a normal human, that's too much effort for a normal person, so they'll just shoot you or something. And, you know, if, like, an entire planet's population finds that, yeah, you know how that's gonna go.
Yeah, kind of big boom.
Yeah, exactly. They were created towards the end of the Heresy, taking Marines from various different legions that were really cool guys. We'll talk about at least one of them in a bit. And they were given some of the Emperor's gene seed. So instead of getting their gene seed from a Primarch, who are like already fucking demigods, they get theirs from the God Emperor of Mankind.
Yeah, that's a bit wacky crazy.
Yeah, so they are, theoretically, the strongest Space Marines. Oh, right, and none has
Made by
ever
the
fallen to
smart work
chaos.
guy.
None of them have ever been corrupted by chaos. They're that good. Because if
Oh, that's that good.
it would be fucking bad if they were, because they're the guys that are supposed to be demon hunters.
Now, is that cause, you know, of
Probably
just who
probably
they are
because
as
probably
people, or is it cause Matt Ward's like, no, they can't?
no.
But-
I think that's established lore for them. No, the bad shit is Kaldor Drago related. It's probably because they get their gene seed from E-Money himself, who is incorruptible by chaos. So, and probably their training. They are peerless in the strength of their wills. So Kaldor Drago is the Supreme Grand Master of the Grey Knights, which means he's effectively the Chapter Master of the Grey Knights. Without rhyme, reason, or feasible explanation, Drago simply exists as this whirlwind of enemy-destroying fiction in his codex. He pops in and out of the warp, wrecking everything, everywhere, without so much as a minute of exposition or explanation. Drago is a concept, a meaningless one without any emotional impact. He's not a person, or anything to which the average person can even attempt to relate, because all Ward can write about is how badass he's supposed to be. Ward has simply declared him the best ever, and he has done so in canon, so it is. Also, this isn't helped by the fact that the Grey Knights are already a very tell, don't show chapter. Ever since they were introduced, every amazing feat they perform has been kept under a whole chest full of locks and keys. Let's see if we can get... Do we have a list of Drago's feats?
Oh, that's a list of feats.
I
That's a
know
lot.
one off the top of my head. Oh, here we go. Listing of deeds. Kaldor Drago is famous for killing a demon prince in his first combat action, banishing demon Primarch Mortarion back to the warp, somehow carving the name of the previous Supreme Grand Master, Garonitan, a fucking long name, into the heart of said demon prince without contracting space demon AIDS in the process, because, you know, demon prince of Nurgle.
Yeah.
To put this insanity in perspective, try cursive writing with a chainsaw while in the middle of an industrial toxic waste dump, wearing a punctured hazmat suit. Said book was literally created to shed some light on the absurdity of this event, and it just... Oh wait, there was a book, an audio drama called Mortarion's Heart. Said book was literally created to shed some light on the absurdity of this event, and it just turned into an inevitable Grey Knights fan hype train, with the bottom line being Death Guard sucks, Grey Knights rule, Mortarion is a bitch. So not much help, really. And then in a new game, he whoops Mortarion's ass again, but this time it's in fucking Nurgle's garden, in his realm of the warp. And he only has 4 Grey Knights backing him up. In a trap he deliberately walked into because there is no other way to stop Mortarion's plan. Single-handedly holding off a demon horde for 2 days in real space. Killing a demon prince with a broken sword. Killing one of Khorne's strongest bloodthirsters with little to no weaponry, taking said bloodthirster's axe and reforging it into a sword for his own personal use with his mind.
What?
Oh, apparently this actually has some precedent in the older lore, but... typically requires the demon weapon to be either heavily purified by space priests, or a more esoteric ritual under the guidance of storm seers or rune priests, or alternatively just be nullified through the use of archaeotech, and only then can it be reforged without risk of corruption. Slaying 6 of Slaaneish's chosen demonettes when setting one's gaze upon them is enough to instantly force submission from any mortal, no matter how strong-willed, unless they are backed by Khorne. Setting fire to Nurgle's garden, again, while somehow miraculously avoiding space demon AIDS. Walking into the city of Tzeentch and single-handedly smashing it to rubble, which, given that the city of Tzeentch compromises geometry which is literally impossible, makes no fucking sense.
How's taking geometry? It's literally impossible.
How?
Yeah, in what way?
I don't know. They're in the fucking warp, and it's Tzeentch. It's like fucking non-Euclidean geometry or something.
I see.
It's like a fucking MC Escher painting.
Also assuming it's like super massive.
Yeah, it's presumably like impossibly huge. He can also be summoned by chaos cultists unwittingly instead of a demon, no sooner returning to the warp than after slaying them all. Additional bullshit? If anyone needed additional proof that Matt Ward is too busy wanking off at the thought of his own fluffing skills to actually pay any attention to what he's writing, just look at the chronology of Drago's entry. Oh, this is way too long timeline shit. I'm not getting into that. So, yeah, Kaldor Drago is fucking stupid. He's like an actual in-universe Mary Sue. Which is funny because we'll get to an in-universe jobber soon. Because we're talking about the Ultramarines.
And somebody's put this, like, Matt Ward guy on a leash or something.
Medell says, this sounds like a 10-year-old kid's OC in the playground. Yeah, that's the idea.
It really does.
That's the problem.
Like, Why haven't several people in lore moved to like stop this guy all at once?
Because he's just that good. I mean,
Oh, he's
fuck.
so good.
Also, chaos is chaos. They're really bad at getting organized to do things.
Fair. I think this guy would be like priority target.
You would. So, what are some of the dumbest traits? The dumbest feats? The Ultramarines are led by a guy named Marnius Calgar, who's fucking old and wears Terminator armor, and his primary weapons are a set of power fists, which I believe are called the Gauntlets of Ultramar. So, he goes around punching shit and occasionally shooting shit because he has bolters attached to them. Bolters are their guns. I should mention, standard Space Marine arms essentially fire grenades.
Why? I thought they'd be using like lasers and whatnot.
Well, there are las cannons and stuff and plasma guns, but bolters are fucking ridiculous. A 75 caliber gun.
I'm going to pretend I understand the absurdity of that.
Okay, so normally a 50 caliber round. Let's see. How strong is a 50 caliber round? How strong is a 50 caliber bullet? How powerful is a 50 cal? Quora, tell me.
Well, please. Like, I assume at least stronger than the average person.
Okay, here. I'll send you this picture of what a 50 caliber round looks like.
Right. Oh, that's big.
So then these are 75 caliber rounds. Essentially, when a human being is shot with a bolter round, they explode.
Yeah.
Normal Imperial Guard use las guns, which are little laser guns that are nicknamed flashlights because they're about as powerful as a flashlight relative to most of the shit that the Guard fights, other than just like Chaos Cultists, who also usually use las guns.
I thought lasers would be like,
Well, las
powerful.
cannons are pretty strong, but obviously that's heavy weaponry. Melta guns are the shit, because that's firing like fucking... Well, no. What do Melta guns fire? I don't know, because they're different from plasma guns. Also, I'm pretty sure they have a much higher risk of fucking exploding.
That's expected with laser
But
technology.
they're like, anti-vehicle weaponry, so... They're essentially designed to fucking melt machinery and heavy armor. Do we have a list of Marnius Calgar's feats? Can I get a list of Marnius Calgar feats?
No, you cannot.
Oh, yeah, okay. Wow, that was interesting. I just cracked my elbow. Among Calgar's greatest feats of combat is the defeat of an Eldar Avatar of Cain. So, what the Avatar of Cain is when the Eldar, the Space Elves, sacrifice one of their leaders to empower an avatar of their war god, who got shattered into a bajillion pieces by Slaanesh and Khorne.
Whoopsies.
And who was strong enough to beat Slaanesh before Khorne intervened, after like 99% of the Eldar pantheon had already been devoured by Slaanesh, and like most of the Eldar race died. Which is significant because like gods get their powers from their worshippers and shit, so
Yeah.
even then he was like stupidly fucking strong. He beat one in melee combat. Let me Let me send you a picture of an avatar of Cain. I've sent the picture a few times.
So like
But
this is like a fragment of that guy, right?
yeah,
Like
a
what's
very
shattering, yeah.
infinitesimal fragment of that guy, but
Still a
fucking
fragment.
oh, here, this picture's good for scale. It's a big fucker.
Oh,
Yeah, he beat it in melee combat.
simply not alone though, right?
Uh, seriously, we don't talk about the Avatar of Cain on here? Okay. Well, that's fine, because I wanted to talk about the Avatar of Cain anyway. Because, he's, that in-universe jobber that I mentioned.
I thought it'd be the Abaddon guy.
No, Abaddon's technically not a jobber, because he doesn't go around getting his shit kicked out of people all the time. He's just really terrible at doing what he does. The Avatar of Cain is effectively, as far as I'm aware, pretty much the strongest thing that the Eldar have. You know, you get one per craft world. In the most desperate times of greatest need, the Eldar will sacrifice one of their young leaders to temporarily animate an Avatar of Cain to help defend them in their craft world.
Huh.
Would you like me to read off the list of ways in which the Avatars of Cain have been killed?
Oh, sure. Let's hear it.
Killed hilariously by Marnius Calgar in hand-to-hand combat in the 5th edition Space Marine Codex. This can be chalked up to the ridiculous levels of Wardian wankery in the 5th edition Codex. Yeah, we know who was writing that fucking Space Marine Codex.
Hmm.
Possessed by Heartslayer, Keeper of Secrets. You know, Slaanesh Greater G-Man during the invasion of Eldar Craftworld with Kuriz. Trampled to death by 12 stampeding Carnifexes during the battle between Craftworld Yendon and the High Fleet Kraken. What happened was that the Avatar goaded the Swarm's Hive Tyrant into a duel. What the Avatar failed to realize was that this wasn't tabletop and that the Tyranids are a pragmatic instead of an idealistic lot who have no concept of honorable or dirty fighting. So the Hive Tyrant just raised his brow at this and sent 12 Carnifexes to run the Avatar over.
Wow.
Strangled / had its neck crushed by Fulgrim. Let us remind you that avatars are living metal statues, and they neither breathe nor have bones. Unless Fulgrim full-on crushed its neck until the head popped off, which would have pretty thoroughly killed it. Killed by the Sanguinor, which is like a maybe demon manifestation of Sanguinius that shows up to help the Blood Angels when shit gets really bad. We're going to talk about the Blood Angels a little while from now. Doused in a great flood by the water people of Astronomus IV after his raw power and heat defrosted them from their icy imprisonment by the space wolves. Truly a shining example of incompetence. So it literally drowned itself by just existing. Put out of his misery by Lorgar, who at the time considered to be the worst fighter out of all the Primarchs. Though the Avatar was heavily damaged even before the fight, unable to even stand and driven mad by centuries spent in the warp, there was just a few pages before Lorgar proved to be a top-level badass as he battled and bested Angrat, the uber bloodthirster of Khorne who can eat Avatars and Titans like cookies. Stabbed in the heart by Magun Ra to temper his some Eldar bullshit I don't care about. Abandoned on a maiden world, where its connection to the Eldar was severed, reducing it to a mindless state of rage. The now unbound Avatar consequently called out to the orcs of the nearby Octarius system, which were happy to answer it. It's kind of sad that the only time the Avatar isn't being a jobber is when he's being used by someone else entirely.
Wow. That's jobbing in its own right, though, wouldn't it?
Mm-hmm. Killed by the Legion of the Damned when assisting the invaders in their assault on Craftworld Idhare. When the Legion realized their flaming bolters did squat against the Avatar, they instead brought the roof down on it. This one's slightly less fail-worthy than the other, since destroying the dome literally blasted the Avatar out into the void of space. Plus, the invaders were seriously mauled by doing this, which is a good deal more realistic than much of this list. Slain by a battle wagon, whilst leading Ulthway's forces in a near-suicidal attempt to defeat a powerful orc war boss. Somehow able to achieve a mutual kill against Skarbrand, who I think is the most powerful bloodthirster. Most likely the closest thing to a victory any Avatar has ever achieved. Oh yeah, this list of how it gets killed is essentially a list of every time it's ever shown up.
Oh my god, that's good. So why is this guy show up again?
Because he's cool, and he exists so that other characters such as Marnius Calgar, Chapter Master of the Ultramarines, can show how fucking strong he is. Well, at least his model's really cool.
Oh, let's see that model.
Here, let me send the new model. I personally don't care for the white face they paint him with, but, I dig it. I like other paint jobs of him. Let me send one I like more. This one seems slightly better. There we go. I prefer it with, a little more glowy bits.
I like his hat.
Yeah, I also like his hat. His big funny...
Oh, you know his design reminds me
Oh, hello,
of,
Gracie. How you doing?
Hi, Gracie.
What does this design remind you of?
Yeah. Hold on. There's like one circle image I need to find. Okay,
hello. Thank you for joining the members, Gracie.
Ooh, hi.
Still need to get those fucking emotes working. I'm so fucking annoyed that they won't just let me upload them. Oh my god, that car.
Yeah, like, tomorrow, like, whenever you connect, like, getting VCL trial, like, trying to assist you with, like, file formatting and stuff.
That would be good. That would be very good. Let's see. Okay, yeah, so Calgar is considered to be part of a big three of chapter masters who are fucking old. Those being Dante of the Blood Angels and Logan Grimnar of the Space Wolves, both of whom we'll talk about later.
Is this Dante of Devil May Cry fame?
No, unfortunately. But he is cool for other reasons. Not as cool as Dante, Devil May Cry, of course. Following a skirmish battle against the Tyranid Hive Fleet Perseus in M41, Calgar lost all 4 limbs as well as large areas of body tissue and his left eye. Fitted with bionic replacements, he is now more machine than man. So his giant power fist gun hands are pretty much his actual hands.
Hope he doesn't, you know, get a shot of coffee. No, I don't want to open music, but you fuck off.
I don't really see much else other about him on here. He did fight Abaddon somewhat recently. He almost fucking died. Like, he got one good punch in on Abaddon, and then Abaddon almost killed him. A lot of people say that, like, GW should just let this fucker die already, because it seems like a lot of the time he almost dies a lot, and then just doesn't.
Forrest needs to make his daring escape. He's an escape artist.
Oh, yeah. Okay, but Calgar's not the most entertaining member of the Ultramarines. That would be Ultramarines' second company captain, Cato Sicarius. Also known as, Cato Sicarius! Because he always has to announce himself. Or that's the joke, at least, is that he always has to fucking announce himself.
Oh, like, every sentence he's like, I, Catacharius, have made a face which was rather indiscreet.
Oh, yes, of course. In the Emperor TTS series, he is absolutely fucking hilarious. I believe this is an actual quote from him here. Excuse me, but you must mean that this is one of the greatest deeds the chapter has ever accomplished. And it was thanks to I, Cato Sicarius, because that is what it is. And I, Cato Sicarius, was thinking that it was the most righteous time to remind you that I, Cato Sicarius, to be your rightful heir as the new chapter master.
I love this guy.
Cato Sicarius is the leader of the Visatrix Guard and formerly the brother captain of the Ultramarine Second Company. Among his titles are Master of the Watch, Knight Champion of Macragge, Grand Duke of Talisar, Cunto Shit Carius. A better writer than Ward recited the whole litany once. We can only imagine him sighing at his keyboard, but then immediately followed up by saying, from the perspective of the fucking Primarch himself, that Cato had an ego to match each of them. Oh.
Hold on, so like, it just says a better writer than Ward. That doesn't really like
Let's
single
see,
out
who
the-
is this better writer than Ward? Guy Haley. Yeah, he was just some other guy that writes Warhammer
yeah,
novels.
some other guy.
The thing
TM.
with 1D4chan articles is that they'll often just hyperlink text instead of just saying what's being linked, so you gotta like hover over it to see what it's linking
Yeah,
to.
that's what a lot of things do, and that's
Yeah.
like okay, save some space, makes them more readable.
He's an arrogant, smug know-it-all who gets brought down a peg whenever he gets too full of himself. He's one of the many fluff-based complaints against Matt Ward due to rather unbelievable feats such as repelling a 1 million Tau army with only 1,000 Marines, which is rather unbelievable. You know, when you get outnumbered 1,000 to 1, no matter how superhuman your soldiers are, they have no chances, even against Grots, not to mention tough-as-nails angry warmonger barbarians or high-tech space communists with an unholy amount of firepower.
Especially in Warhammer, that's even less believable because you have, you know, that one group of guys who's like, oh yeah, there's just a bunch of us. You can't do shit. There's too many
The
of us.
Tyranids? Yeah.
Yeah, those guys, right?
And the Guard.
No, not Tyranids.
The
They're like
Imperial Guard. But the
Imperial
thing is,
Guard,
the
yeah.
Imperial Guard are just normal humans, so they're so much weaker than everyone else that that's the only thing they have going for them. Is that there's just so many of them.
But still, they're there to show that, hey, numbers matter, you know, and you can't fucking do 1 to 1,000 shit.
Yeah.
Yes, can't.
Cato's many titles and honors. He has quite a few.
Hyperlink block. Wow.
Master of the Watch, Grand Duke of Talisar, Knight Champion of Macragge, High Suzerain of Ultramar. So he has 4 separate titles, including being a captain. What an amusing fellow. Anyway, enough about the Ultramarines. You get the idea. They're the poster boys, and this one really shitty author made people fucking
Loves
despise
them.
them because he's a fanboy for them, so he just wrote a bunch of fucking obnoxious lore about them.
You might got to do that with some character at some point.
Now for the chapter that I consider to be the Space Marines. The Imperial Fists. These guys have a little bit more of a gimmick than the Ultramarines do. And that they are the absolute fucking masters of defense. Now, the Iron Warriors are masters of siege warfare, so you could say they're the best at doing offense. The Imperial Fists are the opposite of this. Basically, if you need to defend a planet against some kind of invasion, you really, really, really want to have, like, I don't know, at least a dozen of these guys hanging out on your planet. Because, oh my fucking god, can these guys fend off an invasion force?
I prove it.
I mean,
Oh, they're yellow.
Terra was outnumbered like 2 or 3 to 1 during the Siege of Terra, but just because Dorn and the Fists were there, they were able to hold off the traitor army. When they only had like 3 legions with them compared to like 6 or 7. They're pretty great. But I mostly want to talk about one specific guy from the Imperial Fists, and then some of the stuff that's happened with them over a specific period of time, or a specific event, and then one of their successor chapters, because their successor chapter is quite something. Well, you know, one of them. The most famous of them, if you ask me. During the Horus Heresy, the first captain of the Imperial Fists was a guy named Sigismund. Now, Sigismund was kind of a fucking insane badass.
Yo.
Essentially,
Insane. Hell yeah.
the Custodes, the honor guard of the Emperor, are a step above Space Marines. Space Marines are like fucking children to them, really. Like, they're not a big deal to them.
That's an entire staircase, not just a step.
Yeah. The Custodes are like, no. I don't want to deal with that guy.
Yo, what guy again? Zoned out for a bit.
Sigismund. The Sigismund guy.
Sigismund.
The first captain of the Imperial Fists. I
Right.
do believe, if I am correct, he was the first Emperor's Champion, which is sort of like a specific rank that's in one of the Imperial Fist successor chapters. This guy was on Terra during the Siege of Terra, and was basically given the order, hey, go kill, like, all of the Chaos Champions. Like, any of their really strong guys or their leaders or whatever, just go fucking kill them. And he was like, okay. And then he just went
And did it?
yeah.
I mean, did he take any, like, injuries from that?
Probably a bit. Let's see. Sigismund is sometimes referred to as the best duelist in all of the Legiones Astartes. Regardless, several named characters could probably give him a run for his money. Among them are Abaddon, Karn, Lucius, Sevatar, various other people. He not only bested Karn in a duel many, many times, we'll talk about Karn later, but also during the Great Crusade, the Fists and the World Eaters crusaded together for a while, which allowed Siggy to regularly fight in the World Eaters arenas against all their best fighters. He never lost. Not once. This went on for around 10 years. It should be pointed out that in the Horus Heresy book Templar, he is described as never having lost a duel ever.
Ever?
This means he either never dueled any Primarchs, doesn't consider it a loss if his opponent cheats, as happened with Sevatar. Various other fights ended in draws, or various other shit. Let's see here. During the Siege of Terra. Let's find it. Sigismund made his way out of the battlefield. He was presented with the black sword by one of Malcador's agents. Weary, embittered, and wounded in spirit, Sigismund accepted the blade, resolved now to fight for what the Imperium would have to become, not what it could have been. So, of course, originally, the Imperium was supposed to be a giant country of r/Reddit atheists.
Right.
But, now because of everything that was happening, that obviously wasn't going to happen. So, he decided to become a fucking crusader, effectively. Because now that was basically what they were going to have to be, was fucking crusaders for the Imperium.
Where the Imperium again?
The Imperium is the main human faction. the Imperium of Men.
Right.
So after he gets this sword, he just goes around and he just fucking kills, like, everyone. To the point where the traitor forces attacking Terra were, like, significantly demoralized. And he fought Karn, who was basically the mortal champion of Khorne, and, basically beat him, I think.
But basically, it doesn't mean, like, actually, though, right?
No, he beat him.
No.
The
Nice.
deal with Karn is that Karn seemingly dies and then just shows up somewhere else later. This happens with quite a few of the Chaos Champions. Because the Chaos Gods like them, so they just kind of don't let them die. Though the only one that it really has, like, actual straight-up immortality is Lucius. Even then, it has a bit of a gimmick. After the Heresy, the Imperial Fists got involved in a little bit of a bad thing that happened.
Oh, what's a little bit of a bad thing?
So, they had their whole rivalry with the Iron Warriors. And a lot of it was due to the rivalry between their Primarchs, Perturabo and Rogaldorn. So, Perturabo decided to find this planet and make a fortress on there called the Iron Cage. And he was basically like, hey Rogel, I bet you can't siege my fucking fortress. There's no way you could break into my fortress. It's the absolute fucking shit, and you're a goddamn loser. You could never break into it. So naturally, being an incredibly reasonable individual, and, you know, also being kind of pissed off about the whole half of his brothers betraying the Imperium and several of them being dead and his dad being reduced to a fucking rotting vegetable, he decided to attack this fortress of his.
That didn't go too well, did it?
Not really. Let's see. Do we have a count on how many of the Imperial Fists died?
Oh.
It was a lot. Like, these guys basically walked into a giant fucking kill zone that was designed to fucking massacre them. It's unknown. Presumably it was like more than half of the Legion just fucking died.
So he basically just walks into a meat grinder.
Yes. That was effectively what it was. And then I'm pretty sure even after they broke into the actual fortress itself, it was a fucking trap. So then, like, more of them died.
Well, it's almost as if it's an iron cage for those iron guys to die in or something.
Yeah, almost like that. And then the Ultramarines had to intervene to basically stop the Imperial Fists from getting fucking annihilated. But the biggest problem that came about from this was that the Iron Warriors stole a bunch of the gene seed from the dead Imperial Fists, so they just got shit to make more Space Marines of their own, and that could never be recovered from them. So yeah, that was quite bad. And a little while afterwards, Abaddon decides to launch his first Black Crusade. And
that go well?
Well,
Is that
he got defeated, but I do believe it was during this first crusade that Rogaldorn disappeared, seemingly died, but, like, didn't see a fucking corpse, so he's just off somewhere now, I guess. And Sigismund fought Abaddon, but he was, like, way older now. And the thing with a lot of Chaos Space Marines is they go hang out in the Eye of Terror, or in the Warp, where the flow of time's different. So they're, 1, empowered by Chaos, and 2, haven't experienced the same amount of time as everyone else has, so they're not as old, technically. And he ends up getting killed by Abaddon. So sad. But the most notable thing about him is that he became the first chapter master for a chapter known as the Black Templars. Now, the Black Templars are a funny group for a variety of reasons.
Alright, list them off for me, will ya?
There are two big ones. One, they are like actual Knight Templars in the Crusades of Earth, and that they are absolutely fucking insane religious zealots. They are absolute fucking lunatics.
Everyone loves a little bit of lunacy.
The second funny thing is they do not give a fuck about the Codex Astartes. They do not give a shit. So as I mentioned, a standard Space Marine chapter has 1,000 members divided up into 10 companies of 100. The Black Templar's exact strength is unknown. It could be anywhere around 6,000.
And just access. Oh wait, yeah, they're Space Marines.
That's 6 times the supposed limit.
Ah.
Now you may be wondering, how exactly did they get away with this silly shit, this absolute fucking nonsense? Well,
That's really strong.
it seems to be something of like a little loophole thing, in which, like, they're fucking crusading all of the time, and also they don't have their own homeworld. Like, their homeworld or whatever is just a really big spaceship that they occasionally hang out on, called the Eternal Crusader. I believe there's some sort of rules about always having, like, reserve forces in case you have casualties, so that you can just constantly replace them. So usually there doesn't come some kind of situation where the chapter's about to get fucking annihilated because he had, like, really bad casualties during a war or something. And it seemed like they used this loophole with the fact that they are constantly declaring crusades and going on fucking wars everywhere. So, you know, they just have like 5,000 reserve, fully fledged Space Marines.
Oh, that's fucked.
Yeah, it's super fucked.
I mean, where do they crusade though?
Oh,
Like,
just fucking everywhere. It seems like most of the shit they do is fight Xenos. Speaking of,
who was
the aliens. They just fight aliens most of the time.
right?
There is a
A
really notable member
like
of the Black Templars called Grimaldus. He is a chaplain, which basically means he's like a priest, lieutenant
he's
of
more
sorts.
than his name, so I imagine this guy is rather funny.
So, Grimaldus was deployed onto the planet Armageddon, which we talked a little bit about last time we were talking about the orcs.
Yeah, it's like their war planet.
Yeah, their big war planet that they really like. He was there for the Third War of Armageddon. And he had to defend a hive city called Hell's Reach from this big fuck you huge orc invasion. And the Battle of Hell's Reach is essentially a gigantic last stand in which Grimaldus was delivering speeches to inspire the mostly normal human defenders of the city to keep fighting against just an endless tide of orcs coming after them, where their forces just kept getting stronger and stronger. They were bringing in, like, their big fucking mechs and shit. They were destroying titans and stuff. He basically intimidated a Titan pilot into sticking around to help defend the city while they were in their Titan,
Right?
which is like a giant fucking skyscraper-sized mech.
Ah, that's large.
Yeah. So he along with the few remaining defenders, fought off the orc invasion until literally the entire fucking city and the buildings they were fighting in collapsed on top of them.
Nice.
And then some reinforcements showed up to help relieve them and fend off the orcs. And Grimaldus was the only person to survive this.
How is he the only one to survive?
Because he was the main character of the book.
Uh,
There was a guy that did a 13-part animated series called Hell's Reach, basically just depicting most of the shit that happened in that book. It's very good. If you get into watching any 40K videos, I just recommend watching If the Emperor Had a Text-to-Speech Device, because at least the earlier videos are on the shorter side, and they're funny. They seem to mostly prioritize being entertaining over being informative, especially since they're not wholly accurate for everything. They skim over a lot, and also they're a bit outdated since they started like 8 years ago, so there are some things they weren't really up to date with, but that sort of stuff can't really be helped. Let's see here. Who is next on the list? I could talk about... Well, let's see. You people in chat. I haven't really read much of the chat messages. Let's see here. We got quite a bit of things. Dylan says, fun fact for Warhammer, the old human civilization used Terminator armor as sewage pipe cleaning suits.
huh.
Interesting. Yeah, you guys who are fans of Warhammer Fantasy, could you tell me what exactly Matt Ward did to fuck up Warhammer Fantasy? Because I'm not familiar with that. I am not up to date on such things that happened like 10 years ago. Hello, how are you doing? What do you think of the new regular Ragnarok chapters? I'll have reviews out for them, like, I don't know, tomorrow, maybe? I need to make time to actually record the reviews for them. I'll do that when I feel like it.
Oh yeah, I still need to read the Ragnarok chapters.
They're pretty good.
Maybe one day within the next 2 months.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Yeah, you chat people. Who do you want us to talk about first? The Blood Angels or the Space Wolves? Because the Space Wolves have more stuff to do directly with Armageddon. Because I think they were there for the first War of Armageddon, which didn't really have anything to do with orcs, I don't think. It's just Angron and the World Eaters being assholes. I do believe they hitched a ride on a Space Hulk and just kind of smashed it into the planet. Have I explained what Space Hulks are to you? Have I mentioned them?
Probably, but I don't remember what they are.
Okay, so actually, all human groups have to travel through the warp to do FTL travel. And their ships are protected by things called Geller fields, which basically just stop the demons and warp shit from getting in. If your Geller fields fail, you're fucked. You're all going to get annihilated by demons, and worse. And then the ship is just kind of left to float around in the warp. And what happens with these ships that get lost in the warp is a lot of the time, they just kind of get fucking mashed together with each other, and occasionally just kind of get thrown out of the warp back into real space. So these giant congealments of spaceships are called Space Hulks. And these Space Hulks are often used either as bases for orcs, or Chaos warbands, or fucking Gene Stealers hitch rides on them. Gene Stealers being like the Tyranid infiltration things. Tyranids like hanging out on them for some reason.
I mean, hey, if they're going around the universe, and no better place to do that.
That's true. Heavenly says talk about the gay vampires in space. Okay, we'll talk about the gay vampires in space. The Blood Angels.
So the vampires in space, gotcha.
Yes, the gay vampires? That's fucking... That's a bit redundant. The Blood Angels are the sons of Sanguinius, that really cool angel guy that got fucking murked by Horus.
Thanks, Horus.
Yeah. Or as some would call him, fucking Horus.
I love heresy, I love heresy. Oh,
Oh, I love getting turned into like a meat suit for the Chaos Gods. Sun Eater says end times made characters act completely off character, and some factions get off-screened. Oh. Oh, I did hear about a bunch of characters just being insanely fucking stupid for no reason. I did hear about that.
it's the end times, you're gonna be a little silly.
Yeah, but this was like out of character silly.
Ah.
Now, when Sanguinius died, he, like, released a fucking psychic death scream that afflicted the Blood Angels and all of their successors with something known as the Black Rage. Which is basically just when they go fucking insane. They just go fucking insane at some point. They already have something called the Red Thirst, which is them wanting to drink blood and shit. Because, you know, they're kind of vampires.
Yeah.
So something that just kind of happens over time with basically all of the Blood Angels is if they don't get killed in battle, they end up succumbing to the Black Rage and go insane. And that's the special unit for the Blood Angels.
There's a bunch of insane folk.
Yeah, the guys that succumb to the Black Rage, they just slap them in black armor and then just fucking throw them at their enemies. And kind of an insane suicidal charge. And, goddammit, no Discord, I don't want to open languages. That's what they're called, the Death Company. Because, well, you know, presumably you're sending those guys on suicide charges. Do we have any good art of the Death Company? Yeah. Well, that looks good.
Well, let's see it. The vampire got killed by a guy named after a sun god. Yeah, I wonder what's with that.
How strange, how peculiar. Oh my god, I didn't even think of that. That's crazy. That's kind of... Wait a second. Horus isn't a sun god. Ra is the sun god.
Oh, no? Huh.
Bruh. That's why I didn't think of it. You're fucking wrong.
What was Horus god of then?
I don't remember what Horus is the god in. I mean, he's basically the king of the Egyptian pantheon, other than Ra,
Let's see.
if I understand correctly.
Most commonly used symbols of Egypt seen in Egyptian airplanes and hotels. Let's see, Horus back. What would it say such? Unusual.
Oh yeah, and of course, a person that succumbs to the Black Rage can always get slapped in a dreadnought, so... Then you also have the insane guy trapped inside of a death machine again. Now, there are two guys of note in the Blood Angels. The first one, who I'm not going to talk about too much, is the librarian of the chapter, Mephiston.
Right?
He is without a doubt the
That's
guy in
interesting.
the Blood Angels that looks like a fucking vampire.
Oh.
Look at that
I can
stupid
see it.
fucking collar.
He really decided to lean on that bit.
Yeah, and fuck, even his armor looks like muscle. Which is cool,
respect.
I must admit. We're not going to talk too much about him, also because I don't know much about him. But Dante, the chapter master of the Blood Angels, that man He is quite something. For starters, he is currently the oldest living non-dreadnought space marine. He is 1,500 years old. Let me get a picture of him without his helmet on. He's a fucking old man. The guy's really old. He somehow overcame the red thirst, so he just doesn't have to worry about it anymore. Somehow.
Don't worry about it.
Yeah, exactly.
You're just that cracked. You're just that good.
And after being around for so long, seeing so many horrible things, seeing so many members of his chapter die or succumb to the red thirst and the black rage, he just wants to fucking die. He's just so sick of all of this shit. He doesn't really feel any kind of emotions anymore. He's just like, I just want to be so done with this shit. He's tired of being a Warhammer character.
And like, yeah, it's just a warp to get like to another universe that easy.
Nah, he just wants to die. But there's a problem with that. You may wonder, well, if he wants to die so badly, why doesn't he just kill himself? Well,
You can't.
no. There's a prophecy that he'll be the one to save the Emperor from being killed.
And what determined this prophecy?
I don't know, actually. Let's find out.
You just have a dream one day?
Where was this prophecy received?
You know, you gotta like give this guy like a good philosophical outing. You know, watch the sunrise, get full of life, and you know he'll carry out that prophecy and then pass away.
The prophecy. Oh, that's what it is. The only one thing prevents Dante from succumbing to wanting to be dead. Recorded in the scrolls of Sanguinius are the Primarch's visions of a great battle to overshadow all others. This vision was predicted before his death at the hands of Horus, that a lone golden warrior would ultimately stand between the Emperor of mankind and his destruction. Many imperial scholars have assumed this prophecy refers to Sanguinius' own stand against Horus aboard his flagship, the Vengeful Spirit. Though through some inherent instinct, perhaps a lingering trace of his Primarch's fabled far-seeing eye, Dante believes otherwise. One day, perhaps one day soon, the defense of the now helpless Emperor, who resides trapped on his golden throne, will rest in Dante's hands, and he aims to fulfill this final duty before the darkness claims him. So he's like, I really want to fucking die, but I can't die until I save the Emperor. So I guess I'm just stuck here.
Let's go give the Emperor a sandwich something. Go see the Emperor. Maybe it'll happen then.
Yeah, maybe if you go to see the Emperor, you will... What the fuck?
So.
What is this image? Why have you sent the Googer?
The what?
The Googer.
That is his name?
Yeah, the Goog.
I love this thing even more now.
Hold on. Let me see what's in the GIF, the Discord GIF picker. Googer. It's just notably this.
Why is he moved like that?
Cause he's fucking pissed, and it's a goddamn cougar. It's a mountain lion. They're silly. They're stupid. I love them. Or at least I love this one and the funny, stupid shit about it.
Live Google reaction.
Wow, this is a certified Goog moment. Anywho, Dante is kind of a big badass, but the most notable thing to happen somewhat recently was something called the Devastation of Baal, in which the Hive Fleet Kraken, I believe, attacked the Blood Angels' homeworld of Baal. Oh no, it was Hive Fleet Leviathan. Oh, hold on.
Right?
The Devastation of Baal, also called the Battle of Baal, was the assault by the single largest concentration of the Tyranid Hive Fleet Leviathan ever encountered by humanity upon Baal, the homeworld of the Blood Angels of the Space Marine chapter. I'm pretty sure Hive Fleet Leviathan is already the biggest Tyranid Hive Fleet, so for it then to be the biggest thing of Hive Fleet Leviathan ever, yeah, it is the largest, is fucking ridiculous.
There's got to be one of them.
Now, as we already know, when the Tyranids show up to your planet, I'd say about 80 to 90% of the time, depending on who's there, your planet is like totally super 100% fucked.
Yeah.
And, well, it's called the Devastation of Baal for a reason. It was fucking rough. Like, the vast majority of the chapter got obliterated. Just got fucking annihilated. A bunch of them succumbed to the Black Rage. Their homeworld obviously was absolutely ravaged by the Tyranids coming in, eating all of the organic life and resources there. And Dante went into the fray and just fucking flew around everywhere, fighting literally everything he could get to until, like, all of the fuel in his jump pack was spent, until his fucking armor was all buckled and broken, until he was basically almost entirely out of ammunition, and then went and fought against the Swarm Lord, which is, like, the strongest Tyranid unit. That's why it's called the Swarm Lord. And you could argue, fortunately, the Swarm Lord is effectively another in-universe jobber, and that it mostly exists for named Space Marine characters to fight and defeat. But, I mean, look at the thing. Look at this fucking thing.
Oh, it's an important, Tyranid. It's got...
It's cool. Forearms,
Yeah,
big swords. Look at all those Space Marines it's towering over. Remember, those guys are like 10 feet tall.
That's a big guy.
So Dante fights this thing while he's fucking exhausted and injured and basically almost out of fuel and ammunition. And he gets impaled, but then still manages to, like, blow the thing's head off with, like, a point range shot.
And tanks this, right?
No, he basically almost dies.
I'm
Like,
talking
in
about
fact,
the Swarm
oh,
Lord.
the Swarm Lord dies. He kills the Swarm Lord, but, like, is mortally wounded. And pretty much starts passing over to the other side until a fucking vision of Sanguinius appears to him and is basically like, that was sick as shit, you are cool as fuck, I'm sorry, but you are literally not allowed to die yet. Like, you are too good to die.
Wow.
So then Dante reawakens, and that's when Gilliman shows up with Primaris reinforcements and they save Baal. Even though it got totally fucked. But, you know, it's because of Gilliman showing up and the Primaris being a thing that the Blood Angels chapter can be restored. And then Dante is made the commander of the entire half of the Imperium that's on the other side of the Great Rift from Terra. Because, you know, after Acadia blew up, the fucking... There's a big, huge warp rift that showed up in the galaxy, which meant, like, half of it got cut off from the Astronomicon, so no one could really fucking travel around anywhere or communicate. It's a shithole.
Oh, everyone maybe died, but at least this one cool guy lived.
Yeah! Well, they got reinforcements, so they can have more people. And Gilliman's like, wow, you're really cool. I'm going to make you commander of half the Imperium, okay? Alright. This is quite the honor to receive from the guy who is a fucking Primarch, one of the actual sons of the Emperor, and the guy who's basically running the Imperium now.
Right.
So, theoretically, Dante is the second most powerful military commander in the entire Imperium, as of right now. Good for him. Shame he wants to fucking die.
Maybe one day.
Maybe one day. Alright, now, let's talk about the fucking Space Wolves, because the Space Wolves are sick as shit. Space Wolves, they're a fan favorite chapter. Do you like Vikings and various other sick Viking and or Celtic related shit? Pardon me.
I mean, Celtic stuff, yeah, but like Vikings aren't necessarily Celtic. They're more Scandinavian, so.
I see, I see. Well, the Space Wolves, I guess, could be either of those things, really. Considering the accents, I guess they're more Celtic. Obviously, they're the sons of Russ. They went along with Russ after Magnus accidentally breached that hole in the webway. I was mistaken last week. Magnus tried to warn the Emperor about Horus betraying him, and accidentally tore open a big fucking warp rift in the Imperial Palace, and
Whoopsies.
yeah, that's why the Emperor has to stay on the Golden Throne a lot as well, because, well, why he had to even before getting, like, fucking turned into a skeleton, it's because he had to keep that fucking thing closed. Otherwise, Terra would be overflown with demons and probably consumed by a big warp storm, which, you know, would be not great. That would be suboptimal. So he sent Leman Russ, who is also known as the Emperor's Executioner, and his Space Wolves to go to Prospero and arrest Magnus and bring him back to Terra. Before he could get there, Horus contacted Leman and was like, oh yeah, you know, actually the Emperor wants you to go kill Magnus and, like, fucking destroy Prospero. And Leman, not knowing any better, was like, okay. And then that was why everything went so horribly to shit there. Now, the Space Wolves are fun, because the Space Wolves are the most chaotic good out of all of the Space Marine chapters, arguably. They do whatever the fuck they want if they think it's the right thing to do. They don't give a shit about the rules. So much so that they probably have like 2,000 to 3,000 members. One of the notable things about them is they have a mutation in which they turn into wolf people.
Right.
Sometimes when they're overcome with this mutation, they turn into these things called the Wolfen, which are basically werewolf people that are insane mutants that usually you have to kill. There are 2 notable members of the Space Wolves that I'm going to talk about, and I imagine one of them you will maybe probably really like. The first one is called Bjorn the Fell-Handed. Bjorn was a guy that was around during the Great Crusade. He's really goddamn cool for a few reasons. Let me get some art of Bjorn from back during the Great Crusade, if we have any of that. Any of that good shit. Okay, yeah, this seems to be accurate. You know, average Scottish male.
It's more so Scandinavian, but I've never seen a human being like that.
That's fair.
That's like stereotypical dwarf behavior.
It's true, they do act quite a bit like dwarfs. They even fucking sound like them. Alright, a funny thing
look
about...
like that, too. Like, every single fucking D&D dwarf looks like that.
You know what? That's also true. So, the funny thing about the Space Wolves is that, like, all of their shit has wolf in the name.
Why?
Because they're the Space Wolves and they're not very fucking original. Like, their elite squad, their elite units are called the Wolf Guard, I believe. Their chapter masters are called Wolf Lords. Like, it's fucking stupid. Like what is this? They have various, like, vehicle things. Or they have various supplementary units such as Fenrisian Wolves, Cyber Wolves, Thunder Wolf Cavalry. Everything has fucking wolf in the title.
Yo, do they have a Blade Wolf? Ripped straight from MGR?
You know what? That almost sounds like a unit. That almost sounds like a unit that they have. A fucking Blade Wolf. Oh my fuck. There is a guy in the Legion, I believe, called Ragnar Blackmane. Are you fucking serious? Let's see, their air transports are called Storm Wolves. Oh my god. Yeah, of course you got the Wolfen. There's a Cyber Wolf. Whole bunch of wolf shit. The only non-wolf special unit they have that I'm aware of is their librarians. They're just called Rune Priests because they're fucking Vikings.
Of course, runes, of course. Silly me, how could I forget?
Oh, listen, what a wonderful unit. A Wolf Lord on a Thunder Wolf. Canis Wolfborn. You know, they seem to have a thing. People will call them furries.
Sounds about right.
Well, you know what? Credit to them where it's due. These are guys that like to fucking party and drink and eat and do cool shit. That's like one of the most defining characteristics of the Space Wolves is they just like doing cool shit. So let's see. At some point, he loses his arm and he has to get it replaced. And that's why he becomes known as Bjorn the Fell-Handed. Then, at a certain point, he decides that he wants to go beat the shit out of a demon. Oh, actually, he lost his arm fighting said demon. I see. Good to know. Then, they had a run-in with another big old demon. And he got really mad about one of the other Space Wolves getting killed. So he basically just went and, like, fucking beat it to death. And Russ was actually very impressed with this. He was given a position in Russ's Wolf Guard. Oh right, the demon has never come back again since being defeated by Bjorn 10,000 years ago. Like, he's just like, nah, I'm good. I don't need to deal with that shit again. So he becomes a member of Russ's personal honor guard. Now, the notable thing is that when Russ fucks off to go find something or whatever, he doesn't intend on coming back until the end times or whatever, because I guess that's when he'll be needed. He takes all of his wolf guard with him except for Bjorn.
Because he trusts Bjorn to stay.
Correct.
Respect for that one. Yep, that's his email.
That's his email. Bjorn is the one guy where Russ, the Primarch, is like, yeah, you can handle this shit here. You are the man that can handle this. So naturally, he becomes the chapter master of the Space Wolves for a long time, and then eventually is grievously wounded in battle, and as such, is interred into a dreadnought. Now, you can't really be chapter master when you're in a dreadnought because you're usually in fucking stasis. You're usually asleep.
Right.
Someone else becomes chapter master. But Bjorn just kind of hangs out asleep in their, like, chapter monastery or whatever, which I imagine is just like a big fucking Viking ship or something where they have big feasts and stuff. And he usually wakes up for one of two reasons. One reason is so that, like, every several centuries or every millennia or whatever, he can just talk to the Space Wolves or whatever, kind of find out what's going on, and also give them a bunch of, like, old man advice on things. How do they describe him here? In light of his advanced years, the majority of his time is spent dormant in stasis, but is awakened every century or so such that the Space Wolves might learn from his ancient wisdom. In practical terms, this means they pester him to tell them stories about Lemonress. Since Bjorn's only waking hours are universally spent this way, he does his best to appear more and more senile every time he is awoken, in the dim hope they will eventually stop asking him about the old stories.
Oh, Kof has boosted the server, yay.
Oh?
Yeah. Kof finally bought Nitro and has boosted the server.
Oh, let's go. Nice. I can boost my least favorite server. You're welcome. Oh my god, don't Lolan character entry. He's 37, I believe it. Likes hard work and humility, dislikes arrogance. Wow, it's so deep.
So cool.
I was surprised that he was Caucasian. Interesting. So, yeah, that's one of the situations in which, Bjorn gets woken up. The other situation is which shit gets really fucking bad, and it's like, Bjorn, we need your help, so he's like, okay, cool, I'll help out. Bjorn is notable because he is one of the only Space Marines that's still around from the Horus Heresy. So, like, Dante is the oldest non-Dreadnought Space Marine. I'm pretty sure Bjorn is straight up the oldest Space Marine who's still alive that's not like a fucking Chaos Space Marine or something. Because the dude's usually in stasis and he's in a Dreadnought. Now to talk about the current Wolf Lord of the Space Wolves, Logan Grimnar. This guy is also really old. I think he's like 800 or something.
Right.
The man has quite a list of feats. For starters, he can sprint in Terminator armor, which you're explicitly not able to do. Because he's just that good, I guess.
Is he John Fast for the Warhammer universe?
Maybe he would. I don't know. I don't think it's because he's really fast. I think it's just because he's so fucking strong that he's able to move enough in the Terminator armor to sprint. Which is supposed to be just straight up fucking impossible. His axe, which he has, called Morkai. Let me get a better image so you get a better idea of it across. Because that one, I don't think it really gets the full picture. Well, maybe that's what it looks like in more modern times. But Morkai is a cornate weapon. It's a demon axe. And the thing with demon weapons is you have a tendency to get corrupted when you use them. That's what happened to Fulgrim. But Logan picked up this demon axe, and I guess at some point it may have tried to exert some influence over him to make him fall to chaos and worship Khorne, and he was just kind of like, no. And
Helping characters say no.
I guess Khorne was just kind of like, oh, okay, I guess. Because then he's just never been even remotely influenced by it. He can just use it with no issues.
Hey, thanks, Corn.
Khorne's like,
Mildly cool. So.
yeah, he's one of the cooler. He's like the second chillest of the Chaos Gods, despite being like a fucking raging. Well, yeah, he's just fucking really mad all the time. In spite of that, he's like the second best Chaos God after Nurgle, who's just like chill but gross. I know a lot of the people watching this can definitely relate to that.
Wow.
Yeah. So he's just able to use a demon weapon without ever being corrupted by it, because he's just kind of that good, I guess. He somehow defeated fucking Magnus one of the times Magnus has attacked Fenris, because he does that a few times, because he's still really pissed about Prospero. Magnus, who is a demon Primarch now, Logan has somehow defeated him.
Is that good?
He's that good.
He's cracked.
Then we have the best thing about Logan Grimnar, and the best thing about the Space Wolves in general. That part I mentioned about how they just kind of do whatever they want, it's more so they do whatever they think is right.
Yeah, you said that.
So, you're breathing into your mic a little bit, I can hear it.
No, sorry. Look.
No worries. During the first war for Armageddon, the planet was not actually being attacked by orcs for once. I know, crazy.
Wow.
Oh fuck, I forgot to talk about the War of the Beast. Well, we'll talk about the War of the Beast after this, because we're not going to spend too much time talking about it. It was an Imperial Fist thing, mostly, that I was focusing on, but it's kind of important at large. Angron shows up with like a bunch of demons and shit, and when like a fucking demon Primarch shows up, you gotta call in the Grey Knights, because there's not really anyone that can handle those regularly other than the Grey Knights, and even then it's like a big deal. So you had like the fucking Inquisition and the Grey Knights showing up to deal with that, and the issue with that is that Armageddon had a lot of Imperial Guard there defending the planet. So when you have like millions and millions of normal humans that see Grey Knights when they're not supposed to, the Inquisition is like, oh, well, you know, we gotta kill all those guys.
Hooray! Thanks, Inquisition.
But
Thank you, Green Knights, for being
Logan
here.
and the Space Wolves were like, are you fucking stupid? These people just helped defend this planet against chaos, and you're gonna fucking kill them for it? That's fucking bullshit. So, Logan and the entire Space Wolves fleet helped protect the Imperial Guard leaving the planet.
Fact.
And the Grey Knights and the Inquisition got really pissed off about this. And they ended up firing on the Space Wolves' fleet and destroyed a few of their ships. Now, as you can imagine, Imperium ships firing upon each other is fucking insane because, well, it's friendly fire,
Yeah.
in theory. So, you know, they're fucking attacking loyal Space Marines. That's nuts. But, oh, you're going against the orders of the Inquisition. You're being a little heretical there. We can't have that. So, the Inquisitors were like, yo, you guys need to surrender, and we're gonna send you on like a penance crusade for 100 years or something. Because whenever a Space Marine chapter does a big no-no, the Inquisition's like, go do a crusade over there for a century or something. You're not allowed to get any reinforcements or anything as punishment.
So
It's like
basically
getting
a
put in
death
time.
sentence.
Not necessarily, because usually Space Marine chapters are pretty well supplied, but it's basically just getting told to go fuck off for 100 years or something. For a weaker Space Marine chapter, that would definitely be like a death sentence. But you know, if it's a very large, like if the Space Wolves got sent on a penitent crusade, they'd be fucking fine because they're the Space Wolves, and there's like 3,000 of them, so they would be good. What happens is Grimnar and like a couple of his Wolf Guard decide to teleport onto the Grey Knights command ship, and they go meet with the Grand Master of the Grey Knights who is there, and Logan decapitates him.
Ah.
Yeah. You know, a really reasonable thing to do. Naturally, this caused a lot of fighting to happen. And, well, the Space Wolves suffered some casualties, but they killed several fucking Grey Knights and various Inquisitorial forces, and then just went back to Fenris. Naturally, the Inquisition goes along because they're like, you can't just fucking kill other loyalist Space Marines, especially fucking Grey Knights. Are you insane? So they basically start fighting each other. They start fighting the fucking Inquisition. The guys who are able to just kind of decide that, oh yeah, we should kill everything on this planet, because I think there may be some cultists there or something. The dudes who pretty much legally get to decide what is right and wrong, who is good and bad, they're just kind of like, yeah, fuck you. And it seemed like basically, straight up, just an all-out war was going to happen that would probably result in the annihilation of the Space Wolves, because yes, the Space Wolves are cool, but the Inquisition is the fucking Inquisition. They basically have like unlimited resources at their disposal. And if they declare the Space Wolves to be heretics or something, then they're just gonna get whole other Space Marine chapters attacking them. And that would be really fucking bad. So that's when Bjorn wakes up again and basically tells everyone to sit the fuck down and calm down a little bit.
Just a little.
And obviously, Space Wolves are like, okay, Bjorn, whatever you say. And the Inquisitors were like, holy fuck, this was a guy that was like fighting side by side with the Emperor back when he was around doing shit. We should listen to this guy. And that's Bjorn helping to stop the Space Wolves from nobly committing suicide via Inquisitorius. In badass fashion, though. So anyway, Space Wolves, sick as fuck. The more I think about them, the more I consider, yeah, they're probably the best chapter. Other than maybe the Salamanders. Because the Salamanders are just nice.
These most interesting guys you've said thus far.
Yeah, I would say so.
Like, interesting, but like, cool.
They're cool. They're fucking sick. Love those guys. Now, the War of the Beast. That was something I forgot to talk about when I'm talking about the Imperial Fists. So, like, 1,000 years after the heresy, a really smart and really big and strong orc shows up, and starts taking command of all the orcs in the galaxy. And as you know, since the orcs reproduce through fungal spores, there's a fuckload of them. The reason the orcs are usually a minor threat is because they're really disorganized and kind of stupid, really. They're just a bunch of...
this guys organize them all.
Right. So, this leads to a big fucking war happening, as per usual. But the Imperium starts losing really fucking badly. Their tactics are ridiculously efficient. They start producing, like, actual equipment and warships. I believe they either produced or teleported a fucking moon into Terra's orbit. Yeah.
That's ridiculous. I like that one.
Yeah. Things got so bad that they literally started... They started allying with... Not the orcs. The Imperium started allying with traitor Space Marines. Like, they teamed up with, like, the fucking Iron Warriors. The Imperial Fists teamed up with the Iron Warriors because of how fucking insanely bad this was. They had to go get Vulcan back. They found Vulcan after, like, 1,000 years. He was just on a planet, like, fighting thousands of orcs by himself. They're like, Vulcan, we literally have no one who can fight this fucking thing. Can you please help us? And him being Vulcan, he was like, yeah, sure. Because of things being so bad... Oh, there was some other fucking shit going on. This was when the Ecclesiarchy, which was basically the big church of the Emperor, started becoming really powerful. There's a guy called Goj Vandire that was the first Ecclesiarch. He was doing big corruption shit. And was not the kind of person you wanted to be in charge of things when the fucking end of your empire is happening.
Right.
Real Fall of Rome stuff. Something called the Last Wall Protocol is enacted, in which all of the Imperial Fist successor chapters reunite to form the Imperial Fist Legion. This is notable because through various events that happen in the War of the Beast, the Imperial Fist chapter is completely annihilated, to a man. So the direct successor chapter to the Imperial Fist Legion is just gone. It's completely destroyed. It's the only one that's ever happened to, and it had to be rebuilt by members of the other successor chapters. But I don't think that's public knowledge.
Right.
It's like a little secret. And then Vulcan goes and he fights the Beast, and I'm pretty sure they both get blown up in like a big plasma reactor or something, but Vulcan's a perpetual, so he's just gonna regenerate somewhere else at some point.
Probably it's in a good place.
Hopefully. You like chaos?
That's alright.
Like as a general concept?
Chaos is like too diverse to really like, you know, look at and say, yeah. So,
Okay. Let's talk about that funny guy.
Which funny guy? There's like a lot of them you've mentioned.
That Abaddon fellow.
Oh, that guy, yeah.
So, after Horus dies, Abaddon becomes the new War Master of Chaos. Yeah.
That's a position he really isn't fit for.
Well, he was the first captain of the Sons of Horus. Speaking of the Sons of Horus, I should also mention a certain other guy.
First in line.
Actually, I'll talk about him when I'm done talking about Abaddon. That's what I'll do. We're going to talk about a few of like the notable Chaos champions, and then like the one or two loyalists from their legions who are the coolest guys ever because they refused to go with the flow. You know, they didn't just do what was cool, such as siding with Chaos. So Abaddon was the first captain of the Sons of Horus, formerly the Luna Wolves, and after Horus died, being his second in command, he takes over the Sons of Horus, he fucks off to the Eye of Terror, and his first act of business is that he disbands the Sons of Horus. He disbands the Legion, and then remakes it, because Horus was weak, Horus was a fool, he was a fucking failure. By the time of the Siege of Terra, Horus could, like, barely construct a fucking coherent sentence. His brain was pretty much fucking melting from getting piloted by the Chaos Gods. The Siege of Terra had, like, zero strategy on Horus's part. He made very stupid decisions, like making the Word Bearers the rear guard for, like, no reason other than being petty, or taking away Perturabo's role leading the siege against the Imperial Palace, even though he is the fucking master of siege warfare, which then caused Perturabo to get all pissy and just leave with most of his legion. And then he sent a bunch of his forces after him, which further depleted his forces attacking Terra.
Wow.
And then he let down the shields on his flagship so that the Emperor could teleport aboard so that he could fight him. Which, of course, is why he ended up getting fucking annihilated from existence.
Awesome. Thanks, Abaddon.
Well, no, that was Horus.
Horus, Abaddon,
Yeah, Horus making stupid decisions. Definitely something Abaddon would never do. So he remakes the Sons of Horus into something called the Black Legion, which is just supposed to be like a big fucking legion of guys that are cool with chaos. Abaddon's belief is that the galaxy should be ruled by the strong. The strong are the ones that deserve to rule everything. So, you know, he's a pretty generic evil guy.
Right.
For his equipment, he wears Terminator armor, which seems a bit bigger because he's a big guy already, and then I guess when you get big on chaos, you just literally become large somehow. He has the Talon of Horus, which is like Horus's actual weapon. And then he has the demon sword Drachnian. Do you want to know what the deal is with Drachnian?
What's it do? What's it do? What's his wacky quirk as a sword?
Okay, so first off, here's the other model I have. It's really fucking nice.
Oh, that guy.
Drachnian is a demon sword. The demon contained within the sword was formed by humanity's first act of murder. Cain murdering his brother Abel.
That's quite the old demon.
Very. This demon broke into reality when Magnus opened up that big fucking rift in the Imperial Palace. And Drachnian fought the Emperor and wounded the Emperor. And the Emperor used that opportunity to use his mind to crush him into being a sword. That fucking stupid shit that Drago does. That's why that was one of the less stupid things that he does. And then just gives it to one of the custodians and tells him to run off into the webway, which is a fucking labyrinth dimension that he would presumably be lost in forever. And then somehow at some point Abaddon gets Drachnian.
And the guy broke out. Oops, I got out of here. I was supposed to be in there. Oh.
Now, I like the theory that this custodian decided to just give it to Abaddon. Do you know why I like that?
Why?
Because if it were given to various other people, they would be like, oh, this demon is super powerful. I should free it from its prison so that it can do shit for me, theoretically.
Alright. But Abaddon would be like, oh yeah, this is my sword with my demon.
Right, exactly.
Within my cool demon sword.
Right, of course. So he's like, Abaddon's never fucking letting Drachnian out of that sword. It's a sick as fuck sword. Why would he ever do that? So yeah. This is where the really cool things about Abaddon end. Because Abaddon is a really bad antagonist. I'll tell you why. Abaddon's whole shtick for, like, the vast majority of 40K's history has been that he's led 13 Black Crusades against the Imperium.
13?
13 over the course of 10,000 years. So, one like every 700 or 800 years. The first one seems to have been mildly successful as it got a whole Primarch to just fuck off. And he did kill Sigismund. That's where most of the notable achievements end prior to the last one. We're gonna open up the funny 1D4chan articles again, because these descriptions of Abaddon, they're quite good.
That's
The
stuff you sent yesterday, yeah. That's stuff you sent yesterday, yeah?
Oh yeah, some of it. The Hebrew term Abaddon, and its Greek equivalent Apollyon, appears in the Bible as both a place of destruction and as the name of an angel of the abyss. But this article is about Ezekiel Abaddon, also known as Abaddon the Despoiler, the Dark King, Easy Kill, Phalbadon the Harmless, Disappointmadon. You again? Really? Again? That incompetent fuckwit, Horus's little fail son, and various other, various assortment of different names to the people of TG, is Horus's successor as leader of the Black Legion, War Master of Chaos, and the most disappointing son in the history of children. Like Cain, the canon states him to be the single greatest threat to the Imperium in the galaxy, probably tied with such malevolent forces as the Necrons, Dark Eldar, Tyranids, Lorgar, Perturabo, Mortarion, the Imperium itself, and Games Workshop. However, if you were to actually tally up his victories versus his defeats, and compare that to other characters in the setting, he becomes a raging cesspit of incompetence, which is now well known. He has launched 13 consecutive Black Crusades against the Imperium, most of which originally weren't aimed at taking Cadia and launching an assault on Terra. None of them, except the 13th one, and only partly, actually succeeded in getting what he wanted. And then he usually got chased away immediately after as if he was in a cartoon, then doing fuck all until next week's episode. As is well known, the Ruinous Powers don't tolerate failure from their servants unless said servants have copious amounts of plot armor, and Abby has that in spades. It's worth mentioning that his 4++ invulnerable save derives from an ability called Dark Destiny. This means he literally has plot armor. The fluff explicitly states that the Dark Gods will not allow him to die, to explain his Eternal Warrior in older editions. So he is a villain that is so shit at completing his evil schemes that the powers that be literally give him plot armor. To be fair, he is not the only character that has actual in-universe plot armor, but still. So, originally, as mentioned, most of his crusades were focused around either sieging Terra or destroying Cadia. He failed at all of these things until the 13th one. Then it got retconned that no, actually he was kind of trying to do these other little things to weaken certain points or acquire powerful relics or whatever. So then instead, all of the Black Crusades were successes, but they weren't really that big of a deal. And even then, he still did like a bunch of stupid, insanely incompetent shit during it. I believe during one of them, he like accidentally destroyed half of his fucking fleet.
Whoopsies.
He is hilariously bad at his job. He is so fucking terrifying. He's so bad. His only thing resembling victory came with the fall of Cadia in the 13th Black Crusade, after 10,000 fucking years of this shit, in which he took one of his big Blackstone star fortresses and literally just fucking threw it at the planet. He just took this giant fucking super weapon, this incredibly powerful space station thing, and he just threw it at Cadia. And it cracked the fucking planet in half.
Oops.
And of
I
course,
guess that was his intention though, so like...
the planet broke in half before the Imperial Guard's defensive line broke.
Classic.
Classic. I like how that became an instant classic as soon as that fucking book came out like 5 years ago. Like, as soon as the Fall of Cadia came out, everyone was just like, don't fucking forget the planet broke before the Guard did. And because of the Necron pylons on Cadia, yeah, there are Necron pylons on Cadia for some reason, I don't know, that were keeping the Eye of Terror from getting bigger. That's what caused the Great Rift to happen. And then before he could do anything else, Gilliman got woken up. And then Gilliman was like, fuck you, you're still a failure. You got shit on.
Stop doing this shit, please.
Fuck you, you can't win because the setting has to continue existing so we can keep selling books and models.
Yeah.
And also, we need to sell a new Space Marine line, so I'm introducing these new Super Space Marines that are gonna totally fuck your shit up. They've done a bad job at that, as there are at least 2 pieces of Primaris Marines in this Abaddon model, one of which he is literally stepping on, the other which of whom's head is impaled on this rack attached to his armor. So Abaddon kind of sucks. He's kind of shit.
Hmm.
There is an actual Chaos Lord who's actually kind of good at his job. And he's actually kind of a newer guy. He's a guy called Huron Blackheart.
I mean, how new?
Let me check. Because he's not from one of the Traitor Legions. Let's see, when did the Badab War happen?
Why? Fuck off. This fly's been fucking... They've been learning, right? I kill one fly, a new one comes from my room within the next, like, 24 hours. And, like, there's never, like, multiple flies in my room. There's single filing in. And this one has been evading my every single attack for, like, the past 3 days.
Interesting. Let's see here. When did the Badab War happen? Let's find out. It was in the 41st millennium. So, the guy's only been doing chaos shit for like 200 years. He's pretty new to the scene. Here's what he looked like pre-chaosing. And this is what he looks like in the present.
But I see he became red.
He became red. That's actually very accurate. His chapter was called the Astral Claws, and then after becoming renegades, they renamed themselves the Red Corsairs. Because they're not necessarily Chaos Worshippers. They're more just renegade pirates, but they do a bunch of chaos shit, as you can tell from all of the chaos shit he has going on. So, this guy was put in charge of a region around the, get this, second biggest warp rift in the galaxy called the Maelstrom. And, after a while, he got really mad about how he wasn't being given more resources or anything for doing this job of, like, patrolling the sector and shit.
Yeah, that's something to get a bit riled up about if you don't have enough resources for that.
Yeah, so they just kind of
And
stopped
it's your
paying taxes.
job.
Yeah, they stopped paying taxes. They stopped paying taxes, and the High Lords of Terra just kind of ignored this for, like, I don't know, 200 years or something. Because they weren't doing any renegade shit yet. Well, they were technically renegades, but they weren't doing any, like, chaos shit yet. They were just kind of being rebellious. You know, they were just kind of being like, we're not going to fucking pay taxes. Fuck you. You're not going to give me any shit to help me do my job. I'm not giving you any fucking tithe or anything. Gracie says she'll come save you from the fly.
Thank you, Gracie. Well, like...
Now, what ends up happening eventually is, if I remember correctly, the Imperium was trying to send, like, trade ships through the region. And then Huron and the Astral Claws were like, no. So they just started, like, fucking, raiding these trade ships and destroying them and shit. So the High Lords were like, well, guess we gotta destroy you because you're being fucking rebellious. We can't have that shit. And then a whole fucking World War I situation happens where all of these chapters that have various alliances and pacts with each other end up getting involved. So a bunch of other loyalist chapters, like the fucking Mantis Warriors and stuff, end up getting looped into helping out the Astral Claws because they have, like, old debts to pay to them. This ends up being the second biggest rebellion since the Horus Heresy.
That's not good.
Yeah. Which is fortunate, because only, like, I don't know, maybe a dozen chapters were involved compared to half of all of the fucking Space Marines in the galaxy. Various other chapters end up getting involved. The most notable of the chapters, I believe, that shows up to totally fuck the shit out of the Astral Claws is a chapter known as the Carcharodons, also just known as the Space Sharks.
No, that's, let me guess, they're like, angry space people?
Kinda. actually, the weird thing about them is they're apparently very quiet. They barely make any noise as they go about doing all of their war shit. They got pale skin and black eyes. They're pretty spooky looking. Some people think that they might be a successor chapter to loyalist members of one of the traitor legions, like the Night Lords, which are a thing we're going to talk about, because there are some of them. They're led by a guy called Tiberos the Red Wake, who is the biggest space marine ever. This is him in some fan art.
Large guy.
He is in this modified Terminator armor because that is the only thing that will fit on him.
Why is he that big?
Oh, he just is. I don't know. He's a big fucker. Oh, right. And his weapons. I like this art because the Mantis warrior that he's fighting got one of his arms ripped off, so Tyrus decided to be fair and only use one of his weapons.
Oh, that's respectable.
His weapons, by the way, are power fists, which then have lightning claws added onto them, which then also have chainsaws added onto them.
That is mildly excessive.
It's a little excessive, yeah. This guy is fucking disgusting. He's amazing. And unfortunately, these guys don't really show up in much outside of this stuff. Very sad.
Right.
Huron gets his shit absolutely fucking pushed in. There is a guy, captain of the Star Phantoms, who blew up his own weapon, which...
Why?
Well, because Huron killed him effectively, like he fatally wounded him. So as his last act, the guy blew up his own weapon, which blew off Huron's right arm and like totally super fucking horrifically wounded that entire side of his body. And then him and what was left of the Astral Claws just kind of fucked off. So he got a new arm that has like chaos fire in it or whatever, and now they just do chaos stuff because they're like, fuck the Imperium. Got corrupted by chaos. And this guy, although he doesn't really do as much of big shit as Abaddon, that's why he's much more successful. Because, well, you know, he decides not to be a fucking idiot. They also have the other Blackstone Fortress, apparently. That's a good thing to know. Oh, he has the cybernetic equivalents of a peg leg, hook, eye patch, and a captain's parrot
so
on
he's a
his arm in the
pirate.
form of a... He's a space pirate, yeah.
So the shark guy is a pirate, yeah, of course.
Oh, not the shark guy. Huron is. Huron's the space pirate.
The pirate kills the shark, of course.
Nah, the
Well,
pirate gets his shit totally fucked by the shark.
Don't go overboard then. Oh.
Yeah, so Huron's a little bit smaller scale, but he does like a way better job at what he does.
Right.
Now, of course, there were some loyalist elements to some of the traitor legions. The most notable loyalist from the Sons of Horus was a guy called Garviel Loken, who is the main character of the first 3 Horus Heresy novels. He was part of the 4 big guys in the Sons of Horus that was called the Mournival. They were like Horus's advisors. One of these guys was Abaddon, and there were 2 other guys. When Istvan III came along, he was like, fuck no, I'm not turning traitor. I believe he was actually the one who... Yes. He warned... No, I think he was the one that received the warning from a loyalist member of the Death Guard, who I might also talk about what was going to happen on Istvan III. That's why the loyalists didn't all get annihilated instantly. He does some pretty insane shit on Istvan. He fucking impales Karn on the spikes of a big fucking tank. He fights Lucius of the Emperor's Children, who I talked a little bit about last time. Lucius was supposedly, like, the best swordsman of the Emperor's Children, whose whole shtick is being perfect and, like, the best space marines ever. They're big, they're assholes. They're annoying. And, Lucius was so good that he was never even fucking injured in a fight. You know, all these Space Marines are guys that have like weathered faces and scars and stuff, whereas Lucius just has this pretty unmarked face because he's just that fucking good. So he
He
challenged.
gets her at some point, and it's a very big deal, right?
He fights Garvial, and it's under the pretense of it being a duel, so Garvial just punches him in the fucking face and breaks the shit out of his nose.
Mm.
It's quite funny. He eventually escapes. He goes back to Terra. He was going to be one of the founding members of the Grey Knights, but then just didn't because of something that the Emperor may have implied, I think. So he just decided not to. It almost suggests that he was too good to join the Grey Knights. Like, you are more useful not being here. He then, during the Siege of Terra, fights and kills all of the other members of the Mournival. He defeats Abaddon and was going to kill him before Abaddon got teleported back onto his ship by his allies. He's a cool guy.
I'm incredibly hungry, and I want to see what's going on in 80, so I'm gonna pop out for now. See ya.
No worries.
Where's this connect button? Click on it. No, fuck. There it is.
Ah. Well, shit. Now I need someone else in here. Anyone else want to hop and stream VC? Damn you, play free, having everyone in the fucking AET VC. God damn it. Well, let's see. Chat people. What do you want me to talk about? I kind of need an audience to bounce myself off of for this stuff. Otherwise, it's very uninspiring. This was unanticipated. Man, it seems the whole fucking party's jumped ship. I may have no choice. You know what I'm gonna do? I'm gonna go have a snack. And I'll see if anyone joins or wants to join VC. And if not, I will just end the stream here, I guess. I need an audience. I need people to work. You don't know much about Warhammer? That's true. I would say that doesn't matter, but I don't know how much of this you've caught. What happened when you were gone? When did you leave? Did you leave after I was done talking about the Space Wolves? If so, you missed like the whole spiel about Abaddon, and then I talked about Garvia Loken. Alright, I'll be back in a few minutes, and then we'll see what happens from there. Alas, it would seem we don't have any takers. Oh well. So be it. I can always talk about shit a different day. I got time. So, I guess we'll end the stream here. Everyone else is busy doing other things, and me being me. I like talking to other people when they do other things. And I don't want to just throw a bunch of people onto a stream without asking. So, and even if I did ask, there would probably be some people that don't, and then, you know, doing your shit on stream becomes awkward if you're not ready for it, so I'm not gonna fucking do that. So I guess I'll end the stream here. Tomorrow, there will be an Elden Ring stream. I'm fairly confident in that. Probably tomorrow evening. So look forward to that. Anyway, thank you all for watching. I'll see you guys next time. Until then, take care. Bye-bye.